And continuing on with my list of my top 30 favorite TV shows of all time, we now come to number 27 on the list. And just like how we talked about Conan O'Brien very briefly last week, I'm going to briefly talk about number 27 because it is another classic late night show, and that is, of course, The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson.
From Hollywood, The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. This is Ed McMahon along with Doc Severinsen and the NBC Orchestra inviting you to join Johnny and his guests, Buddy Hackett, John Lithgow, and another segment of More on Movies. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Johnny.
I'm only doing this mostly because I went into great detail on my thoughts on Johnny Carson's Tonight Show run from the 50 Years of Tonight Show documentary I did last year. Want to go check that out? There's the link in the corner. But this was one of the game changers in television history. This is the show that helped to launch the standard format of the late night talk show. Johnny Carson's 30-year run on The Tonight Show featured a lot of the great Tonight Show moments, from comedy sketches, guests going out of control, many animal visits, and just amusing interviews from both celebrities and people with unique and strange talents or abilities. It wasn't just celebrities or authors. It was authors. You don't usually see a lot of them on TV as much, but sometimes you have politicians. Sometimes you would have just people that Johnny Carson found interesting. There's always those great moments. Specifically, there was one where Johnny had this woman on who collected all these potato chips that looked like different celebrities and different personalities. Like there was one where she had one of Yogi Bear, and there was a great bit where Ed McMahon's is next to her over at the desk, and Ed tells him to turn and look at this, and then Johnny Carson takes a chip and eats it, thinking that he ate one of the chips that he had, but no, it was actually a bowl of just regular chips that he had behind there. Stuff like that was very funny overall. And it's that's what late night TV I think has been mostly missing from the longest time. It's fun to make fun of the political world, especially nowadays, but you didn't really need to do a lot of that back then. You could just make fun of what was going on at the time and just have a good time watching a late night comedy show. Johnny Carson always felt like he was very happy to be on the show. There was hardly a night where you ever felt like he didn't want to be there. He would even take his personal problems, like going through divorce or in a contract bidding war, and use it to great comedic effects within the monologues themselves. I mean, even with all the crazy stuff that happened later on between Jay Leno and David Letterman fighting The Tonight Show, Carson always kept his cool. He always stayed on the sideline, and it always seemed like that, between the two of them, he had more respect for David Letterman than he did for Jay Leno, hence why he was the one that basically told David, go to CBS, don't wait for The Tonight Show to eventually come to you, because that ship has already sailed. He's the one that literally told him to go to CBS. And, of course, he went on to do several episodes of David Letterman's show after that, and how actually contributed some of his comedy to David Letterman, and just how great the chemistry was between those two, even after Johnny Carson had left. And I always consider the last two episodes of the show to be two of the best series finales in history. You've got the second to last episode where you have Robin Williams and Bette Midler dropping by, and the last musical number alone is just so beautifully done. I mean, you get to tear up towards the end, just like Johnny Carson did. And then the last episode, where it's just Johnny, Ed, and Doc sitting there just watching these classic clips and going back behind the scenes of the show, and Johnny giving that last bit of that last monologue as he's getting ready to go out. It just puts a lump in your throat every time. And like I said, Conan O'Brien's short-lived Tonight Show is the only one that has come close to capturing that magic that Johnny Carson had. And I just talked about it last time around, but The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson is still one of the greatest shows in television history. It's a show that I was a little bit past my prime because I was only 3 years old when the show ended, but it was a show that I was glad I was able to find over time, because it was definitely a show that is more than worth checking out. If you want to see late night comedy at its absolute best, The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson is definitely that show, and that's why it's number 27 on my list of my favorite TV shows of all time. So with all that said, thanks for watching this, and I will see you guys next week for number 26. But in the meantime, if you want to hear what I had to say about Conan O'Brien last week, check out the video in the corner. Check out some of the other episodes below. I'll see you guys next time.